in Riverdale, Veronica isn't so unlikable as she might have been in the comics. And it's funny because I was researching like the name Veronica and how a lot of people hate that name because they associate it with Veronica in the comics, and it's like, oh, she's snooty, sounds like a rich, spoiled brat name. And I think because we've added this element to Veronica, we've added dimensionality to her, and the fact that her father is involved with all this fraud and embezzlement, got arrested, and kind of forced the family to readjust their lifestyle, and now we have no money, and my mom and I are kind of on our own. I think that's really humbled Veronica, so I think in that way it's kind of really easy to sympathize with her.
Are we going to get to see her father in the first season of the show?
I think we are. I'm not entirely sure, but I think it's coming.
Eileen was saying that your character and Cheryl might sort of come together. They might have some more commonality. Have you started working with some of that yet? Can you tell us a little bit
Yes,
about
we have worked on that a little bit. I think it's one of those things where we will be friends sometimes, but that's only going to be so short-lived, and we'll probably always resort back to the rivalry.
Why do you think Veronica is immediately so drawn to Betty?
I think she sees all this potential in her that is being pushed down because of her mother, and her mother really has a negative effect on her life, and I think Veronica recognizes that and is trying to bring all of the good things about her, all the strength in Betty out, so that the world can see it.
How is the Betty-Veronica dynamic going to be different from the comics? Because in the comics it's a lot more of a rivalry and it's more of a love triangle with Archie, so how is that going to be?
I think they're a lot closer in this version. But in episode 2 we're already starting, episode 2 is entirely about us trying to be friends again, and Veronica desperately trying to apologize and recognizing her mistake, and Betty trying to come to terms with that as well. And I think throughout the entire season they're always going to be working on their friendship, and whatever rivalry happens it's going to happen because of Archie, but it's never really going to get in the way of the essence of their friendship.
I never really knew, was new to town and the murder happened, so what's her kind of take on that?
I think it's, thoughts on that? It's kind of eerie for her to walk into this world already so different from where she comes from, and also all this, like, to walk into like the peak of drama, and she doesn't really know these people, and they all know each other, and they know all these secrets about each other. So I think she kind of like is like sitting back and watching and trying to help when she can, but at the end of the day she's pretty separate from all of that.
So she's not intrigued by it or drawn into
it? No, she's definitely intrigued by it, and helps. Betty kind of plays detective in some of the episodes, and Veronica will chime in, but I think the rest, her relation to that mystery will probably be more towards the end of the season.
Does that give you a kind of perspective? Because Cole talked a lot about Jughead being kind of the outsider in town.
Yeah.
Being able to look at things more objectively.
Of course.
You're not only an outsider to town, but you actually don't have opinions because you haven't known these people.
Right. But she kind of jumps in pretty quickly, and in terms of making new friends and already feeling a part of the gang, like we're on episode 7 now, and I already feel like she's already immersed herself entirely in the friend group, and she's Veronica, she's popular, it's easy for her to make friends, because especially in this version of Riverdale she has made herself very likable.
Can you talk about her friendship with Kevin?
Oh, I love her friendship with Kevin. I don't know what really to say besides that it's just a friendship that works. Their characters really understand each other, and whenever Betty's too busy dealing with all of her family drama, me and Kevin come together and we kind of have our own little stuff.
You mentioned that Veronica makes friends very easily, but right off the bat, she goes toe-to-toe with Cheryl.
Yeah.
Can you talk about their relationship moving forward?
Yeah, I think there's going to be some mutual respect for each other. They're very similar in many ways, They both come from money. They've both been on top, But the thing is, the difference between Cheryl and Veronica is that Veronica has come to her senses, and I think Cheryl still hasn't. But I think Veronica relates to Cheryl, and actually in some ways is going to feel protective about her for that very reason.
But she doesn't really have any interaction with him or pilot is Jughead.
No. He doesn't have much with anyone,
Except with Archie, who that friendship has been severed. What is she gonna think of Jughead when she finally comes into contact with him?
They start to come into contact in episode 2 at the very end, but I think she kind of thinks he's a weirdo, honestly. And you know, their friendship hasn't really been fleshed out yet, but I don't know. That's a good question. Her relationship, that's like my favorite part of the show, is her relationship with her mother. It's very complicated, and you know, it's kind of part of the coming of age story is coming to terms with the fact that your parents are just like you, and they're still learning and trying to make their way through life. And Veronica recognizes that, but also isn't mature enough to actually understand it. And so I think there's a lot of resentment towards her mother because her mother still is involved with some stuff with the shady business. And Veronica starts to see that and starts to feel betrayed by her mother.
Veronica has chemistry with Archie, obviously, in the first episode. How is she gonna try and suppress that as kind of that goes on because of Betty?
Yeah, I think she will start to suppress it a bit, especially for the sake of her friendship with Betty. But there's always, you know, we're always getting a scene here and there where Veronica and Archie do connect, and you can feel the electricity between them. But they're doing a really good job of letting that build rather than kind of rushing it. You know, like we all know the triangle's coming, so we're kind of trying to gradually get there rather than just starting it with the triangle.
Why do you think this show is different? Because, you know, we've seen a lot of teen shows are set in high school. We've seen shows with characters of a similar age dealing with like murder and mystery and everything. And of course, this is based on familiar, iconic characters. But why do you think that this is a different kind of show?
I think tonally it's very different. I mean, it feels like a comic book, but it's still the real life. And I think we've done a great job of balancing that, like balancing the darkness with the lightness. And also the idea that it really isn't just teen drama. It's not trivial drama that we're dealing with. We're dealing with really high stakes stuff, and with our relationships with our parents and balancing that with our relationships with each other. They're going pretty deep. It's really not surface level as some teen dramas can be.
Archie is going to have other women and females in his life, another girlfriend and his teacher. How does Veronica did that change the dynamic between them that he outside relationship?
I think it stalls the triangle a bit. Is that your question? Yeah, like it puts because we start with that. So for like a few episodes, it's like Veronica or Betty can't really get to Archie because he's distracted, and I think that's part of what makes Archie is that he wants everyone. It's sometimes not even just Betty and Veronica. You know, he wants Cheryl, he wants whatever. You know, any girl that comes his way that gives him any slight bit of attention, he's gonna want to receive it.
Does anyone catch Veronica's eye in the meantime?
Kind of, here and there. But Veronica's a little bit more distracted with her family drama.
You know, we've talked about it here before, the afterlife with Archie comics, the horror comics, and it's been brought up as, you know, if you get a chance to do a Halloween episode or kind of one-off, you know, would you be interested in exploring this sort of horror world with zombies?
Why not? Yeah, I think that would be so much fun. And it does feel like we could do that, and we could find a way to do it that wouldn't be too far of a stretch.
Is there a specific episode that you're especially excited for fans to see in the bunch that you've filmed so far?
Oh, that's a good. I mean, there definitely is. I don't know which one I would say necessarily. There's one, episode 3 gets pretty dark and intense by the end of it. It's a really interesting episode between Betty and Veronica. I'll say that.
We learned earlier there may be a bit of a friendship going on between Veronica and Josie.
Yes.
Maybe we could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I think it comes down to the fact that they both have daddy issues, and they bond over that. And you know, there's actually, it's one of my favorite scenes in the show is the scene with me and Josie at Pops, and it's a really sweet, you know, girl talk. It's really nice.
Speculate on who the killer is?
Yeah, I speculate so much, and we know that they all know, and it drives me crazy. I keep thinking my dad has something to do with it.
Could you be the killer?
No, I don't think I could be. But I think my dad. Or not that he necessarily did it, but I feel like he has something to do with it. But I could be wrong. Who knows? But you heard me say it, so if I'm right, it's on camera.
Within this genre, I mean, I asked a couple other people what their sort of favorite teen movie is, and not to pigeonhole this into teen, but you know, whether it's Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Breakfast Club, 10 Things I Hate About You, anything like that. Is there any
Favorite
movie?
teen movie?
Yeah.
Does it have to be a movie? It can be a show?
Sure.
Because I loved The OC. The OC was one of my favorites, for sure. And like Skins UK.
Oh.
Yeah. Effie was a huge influence on me. That's probably not a good thing.
We see Veronica and Betty kiss in the first episode.
Yeah.
Do you know if Veronica is bisexual, or is that something? Do you think there's any like romance there, or do you think it's just like totally a ploy?
Yeah, I get that question a lot. I think it's. I mean, that moment I don't think was supposed to be a romantic one, rather than something being. I think that was a way to kind of get Cheryl's attention, you know. And Veronica is a manipulative person. She just kind of wanted to like take hold of the situation. But that being said, I do think it wouldn't be out of the question for her to be bisexual, and maybe she is, and maybe, you know, that's something that could be explored one day, but it's not something we've really decided on. But if it were the case, why not? You know?
She's very good at navigating, you know, sort of political situations, and she's very savvy and sophisticated, but what does she want? I mean, what
does Veronica want?
Yeah.
I think Veronica, her overall objective is to redeem her family name and to take hold of her own identity and separate it from that of her parents.
There seems to be an undercurrent of danger naturally for this type of show, given the fact that somebody gets murdered in the first episode.
Yes.
How much danger is your character Veronica in?
I think it's starting to, like, it's building. We're building towards that danger. Right now it doesn't feel like there's a direct threat, but it feels like whatever danger it is, it's still uncovered, and it will have something to do with her parents and her dad's business.
Other than Veronica, do you have a character who's your favorite and you're really excited to read about when you get the scripts?
Jughead. I love Jughead so much. And he's just such an interesting mystery. It's just besides from what?
Cheerleading.
Cheerleading?
Cheerleading else to kind of get involved with, trying to protect the school spirit type of situation. Any other extracurricular activities that she's doing?
No. Maybe. Maybe soon. I don't know. I guess you'll have to find out.
Do we see Veronica getting involved with any of the singing or music on the show, or is she just a listener?
I think she will. Roberto knows pretty much everyone in this cast sings, so I feel like Roberto will probably want to tap into that. But yeah, we'll see.
Will any sort of elements or characters from her life back in New York come into play?
I think so. I just had a conversation with Roberto about that. I think there's a possibility that we might do an episode where Veronica goes to New York.
Do you think she's a good person that's playing bad, or is she perhaps a bad person that's just trying to play good?
No, I think she's a good person, and I don't think she's playing bad. I think sometimes bad just happens.